Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Avini Vibes. Today is October 3rd, 2024, and we are just grateful. Our hearts are exploding with joy to be able to come on this call tonight. My background doesn't work. I was just telling Carol and Nicole like 2 minutes before I get on, and around 7:15, Carol opens Zoom up so we can technically check things. And all of a sudden, my internet did not work. So I rebooted the router. You know how that goes. And nothing was working, nothing at all. So that's why I just showing up now with a blurred background. So I have no background at all. But welcome tonight. We're excited to be here. Remember, we make no medical claims. We're here to learn, to educate, to encourage, uplift, and again, most importantly, to share this amazing story of Avini Health and the natural healing products that we have. And just so you know, we've been fortunate each week, the last few weeks, to have Dr. Nikita with us. And Chip knows Dr. Nikita is under the weather tonight. She was going to join us as usual, even though even if she's under the weather, she always shows up. But tonight, I said, go rest, get better, because we want you well. So she sent her regards, but we're fortunate tonight because we have a special guest in the house from New Jersey. This is Nicole Reina. Nicole is a family nurse practitioner, and she has been working in the medical field. I'll let her tell her story, but for many, many years. But for those of you who don't know, I'll tell you something real personal about her. She loves people and she loves dogs. She has, I think, 5 or 6 of them and 4 children, and went to school during those phases. How do you have 4 kids, 6 dogs, and 3 cats, and go to school at night and have a practice? So she knows how to put it together, and we're blessed to have Nicole Reina with us tonight. So Nicole, tell our listeners where you're calling from, and if you wouldn't mind, share a little bit about your experience with a zeolite and how you found Avini. And we want to hear from you. Please, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I am so happy to join you. I have so many great things to say about this product, this company, and all the people that are involved in this company, because I have seen, like Christine had said, I have been a nurse for about almost 30 years. I know I don't look that old. And then I went back and got my nurse practitioner about 5 years ago at nights. Yes. And I also had to do clinical. I was like working 2 or 3 jobs, like just to get some extra cash and whatnot, but it all worked out. Thank God, because the kids were very helpful at the time. So I had seen a zeolite product a couple of years ago, and I had started using it. And I was like, okay, this is really great, and this is working very well. And then my children, I have 4 of them. They were from personal. I can see it kind of from both the provider side and like your own family side, because this is my children that are going through this. They would wake up and kind of have like a scratchy, dry type throat. And then sometimes running a fever, and sometimes down like stuffy nose and whatnot, and ears. And then I would take them to the doctor, which actually I would take them to urgent care because I worked at urgent care, and it would be positive for strep. So a bacteria, and then they would get their antibiotic, and they would be all feeling pretty good by then. But still, like maybe a week later, they'd say it's lingering, like my throat feels, scratchy again. So, and then my other son was having headaches also when he was having things like this go on. So I said, why don't you just, try this? I had been taking it. I had really felt good. And so he started taking it, and he didn't have a headache anymore, and his throat was not scratchy anymore. So I was like, there's something to this. So this is transit. Now I have 4 of them. So 2 of them went through this. So we get through this whole episode, and this is like a year going on. And we end up, after going through all this, we stopped taking it for a little bit. And then my aunt calls and says, hey, have you heard about this zeolite. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, it has, like, I have seen it working on some of my patients that felt much better. They felt much healthier. They felt like they had more energy. Some of them were reporting, like, I don't have a headache like I always do. I don't have sensitivity to the light like I always do. I'm not feeling as like kind of sad as I was feeling. I even had some people that I had introduced it to for many other reasons. Maybe they just were not feeling like, they were always tired and they started it and they were feeling much better after taking this. Because what happens is sometimes when your body has bacteria in it, it can go to different areas of your body and kind of like hang out there. So when you have bacteria, some of this bacteria can actually enter into your like central nervous system and in your body, because what the bacteria does, it's not even the bacteria. So like you could get rid of that strep per se, or whatever bacteria it was. It doesn't have to be strep. You can get rid of that bacteria by taking the antibiotics and getting treated, but people are still having the effects of it because there's other things that are going on. Like when the bacteria is killed off, you're getting different types of symptoms from that. So even though you're getting the appropriate medical treatment, you're still having some of the symptoms from, the things going around in your body. The other thing is some of the bacteria causes something called like autoimmunity. So your body starts to attack your body based on the fact that, for instance, like some bacteria, what happens is it gets circulated in your blood. And then what happens is it starts to pick away at the blood-brain barrier. So everybody has a barrier that's circulating your head, your neck, and your spinal cord. And it lets nothing go in it. So no bacteria. The only thing that goes through there is like the blood, obviously, and your central spinal fluid and whatnot. But sometimes when people have these autoimmune issues, and it could be any other type of autoimmune issue, what happens is the bacteria and the byproducts of the bacteria can leach into your blood circulation and your brain. And that's when people are having these issues from that bacteria. So it's basically an autoimmune reaction, and your body is attacking each other from either bacteria or whatnot. So it's very interesting. There's a lot of up and coming research on that, but the zeolite has been very effective because it can get into smaller areas and your circulation, your general circulation. Now, they don't believe per se right now. I don't believe that the zeolite crosses the blood-brain barriers by studies and whatnot, but cleaner blood that's going through a cleaner body, you're going to have less side effects and you're going to be able to feel better, not having that agitation and the irritation to your brain and your body.
I just had a client come to me. Well, he's a dear friend, actually. He's 81, and he was going because he had something going on in his mouth, and he was going to do some dental work. And I kind of said, maybe you should do this instead of that. But he did this instead of, he didn't do this, he did that. And he came to me for every day after and said, "Oh, my stomach is so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad." Because, he kind of changes bionome from killing not only the bad bacteria, but they used it prophylactically for him with the surgery, oral surgery. So they were using it prophylactically, but he had an adverse effect totally because he killed the good bacteria as well. So his gut, that whole gut biome was just a disaster. And still he's finally, I saw him, that was like 10 days ago. He's finally doing much, much better. So yeah, I mean, you see it a lot, I'm sure. People run to you and right away they say, "Okay, give me, get the pen and paper out and here you go.
Yes.
Let me run to the drugstore and maybe we can fix this." But Chip's with us tonight too. So I wanted Chip to comment about this as well.
I am here. I actually got called onto a three-way with Robin and a guy that was asking about how to take it best. So I was gone for a couple of minutes, and the part about the microbiome I missed. I got the introduction to Nicole, so I have an idea about the the sense of Nicole, but the specific thing you're working on, catch me up real quick.
Yeah, so she was talking about what's going on with the children when, a lot of children have this, they wake up with this thing going on, scratchiness, etc. And sure enough, even though they take the antibiotic and they feel better, who knows if it's still not hanging around somewhere in the body. And we were talking about the cell defender and the nanosilver helping to alleviate some of those things, perhaps.
Okay, so yeah, for sure, microbiome is a big deal, and they can fight. Uh, and if you want to go into bacteria and microbiome, that's really interesting because it's a spy counter spy deal. I come from special forces, and whoever has the upper hand at this moment wins. And in the area of bacteria and things that happen in hospitals, especially, two bacteria have the upper hand on us, and that's MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and C. diff, Clostridium difficile. And we really don't have antibiotics that can deal with those. So interestingly enough, and I love the crossover between the natural side and the healthy side. And I guess we would say Nicole is a crossover between the natural side and the healthy side, right? And so one of the things that's happening in hospitals now is fecal transplants. So what is that? They go to somebody in the family who's healthy and not taking antibiotics, take a sample of their gut microbiome, introduce it into the patient, and let the bacteria duke it out. And typically the good ones will win. So each time we take an antibiotic, we wipe out the good and the bad. The beauty of the products from Avini, and this would be especially Cell Defender, Avini Nano Safe Spherical Silver, and Immunity, is that they are selective. They will take the bad and not the good. And you think, well, how is that selection made? And it's interesting to me because silver is a perfect example. Too big a silver is called colloidal, and it'll get stuck in you and turn you blue eventually. Too small a silver is ionic, and any silver actually on the surface of your skin is good for killing bacteria. But when you take it internally, ionic silver is too deadly. It'll actually kill your immune cells and your beneficial bacteria. Interestingly enough, we found a Goldilocks size, shape, and charge of Avini Nano Safe Spherical Silver, which is about 200 atoms in a ball, 7 to 10 nanometers across. And with that, listen to me real close, size, shape, charge are important in all of our products, but also, especially there, resonance and frequency. There's a particular resonance of sound, frequency of sound that'll break a glass. The others don't. There's a particular resonance and frequency of silver that will break the coating on a kind of a bacteria that can be a problem, but not the ones that survive all the time in our mucous membrane protected gut are different than the pathogenic ones. And we're able to select between the good and the bad. We had that, but our problem in the beginning was we couldn't hold the silver in that size, shape, charge, and frequency. And so the magic happened. We lost the product, actually lost the guy that was making it. In the shuffle, Doug Dickey finally found a source, and they were the guys who had figured out how to hold it in stable in that size, shape, charge, frequency, and resonance. And that's done by essentially the same principle as black and white photography. You take a black and white picture, go into the dark room, and you're going to be using silver oxide to create the image. Once you make it, the image is on the paper. You can't take that paper in and change it like you can with your cell phone. Erase this and put the other one on. The reaction has happened, and now the paper is stable. You can run it all through again. The picture's still going to be on there, still be the same. Same way with the Avini Nano Safe Spherical Silver. It is now protected by a single coating of silver oxide tetrahedrons, and it's stable now. Hot, cold, freeze it, boil it, doesn't matter. It'll maintain its size, shape, and charge, and becomes our Avini Nano product. That's maybe more than you wanted to know about that, but stuff like that. So each one of the mushrooms in Immunity, by the way, makes its own antibiotics. Think about the last time you saw a mushroom coming up through the ground,
Today.
coming out of a rotting something, right? How does it protect itself? Every single mushroom makes its own antibiotics. In the case of, help me out, cordyceps. We have two cordyceps in our product line, Cordyceps sinensis and Cordyceps militaris. And cordycepsin is the bacteria or the antibiotic that they make. Interestingly enough, in each of the interventions we have so far, they've been impervious to the spy counter spy thing. The bacteria have not been able to crack the code and beat the Avini products. So the rest of the world has nothing. We have three choices in that circumstance.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Look where we wound up. Look what we have in the antibiotic world. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
Nicole, you spent how many years in the ER, you said?
Oh, like 20 in the ER and ICU.
Oh dear, that's a
Wow.
big career. Yeah, so
So,
as I said, you kind
I
of
saw a lot of things that then that's why I ended up going on for my NP, because I saw a lot of things that I was like, if you would just do this, then this would happen. Or if you would just give something like vitamin C, the person would be out of this unit. And it was very frustrating. So
one of the ICU nurses that's, raised up kids the same time I did, she came one day and I loved her terminology. She said, here they come in circling the drain. And their family says, spare no cost, do anything and everything to save them. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, what about last week? You're doing all the dumb stuff last week. And now this week, all of a sudden you're desperate. You want to spend all the money. Doesn't matter.
yeah,
And guess what? They feed them when they're there.
bad
Pancakes
stuff.
with syrup.
I
awful.
mean, even just, I would look at what was in the tube feedings of people, and it was like, how can you be giving them high fructose corn syrup and like all these high olenic acid and sunflower oil and canola oil? It's like, woo, we have a lot to do. We have a lot of work.
You're highly educated and you knew it before. So I got here just a little bit late. I got the four kids, 6 dogs, 3 cats thing, but I have no idea why all of a sudden you're on an Avini call. I looked up and I said, okay, I don't know that girl. I think I know everybody else that's here tonight pretty much. And I said, where'd she come from? And so I'm wondering, can you say something about,
Here I am.
Say something about that.
So I'm Nicole Reina, and I was a nurse for almost 25 years in pre-hospital. Then I did ICU, ER, and then I was kind of like a travel nurse, and I functioned all throughout the hospital. I would walk in that day and say, where am I going? And everyone else would say, oh my gosh. But it was good because you got to see every different area. And then I worked in urgent care for a bit. And when I got my nurse practitioner, I opened my own practice. So right now I'm doing mostly I am doing urgent care and concierge type based things, but I'm also doing more functional lab testing and more holistic based practice. So, I see people for anxiety, and I see people for a earache, and I see people that want to know what's going on metabolically with them. So I kind of do a broad range of things.
So we could just have pretty much unlimited fun with you.
Yeah.
No topic is off the table for sure. And so there's something I would probably ask you, and that would be, what do you feel like you have great tools for? What do you see a lot of that you wish you had something for? But rather than ask you that first, I got to say, why Avini? How did somebody find you? How did you find it? Is this night number one, or have you been around a while and I just haven't come across you yet?
So I had been using zeolite products before you guys came into business. And then my Aunt Christine, called me and said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Zeolite?" I was like, "Yeah, I used to take that for years, and then I kind of fell off because the company went out, but I know the product." So she started
Just a
sharing
second.
with,
Do I know Aunt Christine?
Yes.
yes,
I do.
Rolando.
She's
Christine
like my
Rolando.
unofficial sister,
Yeah.
Christine. So we're sort of like related. My New York family is from Middletown, New York. So I
Perfect.
I keep thinking, okay, if I still had a sister, and I hate to admit this, but I do have sisters and brothers that I've never met.
That's
From
exciting.
Yeah, sort of, and they reach out to me, but because of the way it all happened, um, maybe someday, maybe you guys will
Yeah.
have to call me aside and have a word. But anyway, so cool. So this was like
So she
moments of discovery
basically
for you.
so
Why do we
she
get
bas well she basically shared the opportunity with me about, I would say, about a little over a year ago. So I've been slowly working my magic behind doors, and then she invited me to come on to the call tonight to speak to everybody really about autoimmune type reactions and the bacterial, because there's more than just like per se a strep or a Lyme or something like that. Those type of bacteria that um, I've seen it work and help people feel better.
Okay, so those are gigantic topics, and you run into them all day, every day,
Every day.
over and over again. People are hypersensitive to everything. People are made of wet tissue paper. They're about to fall apart when they get to you, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Like some of them are, and then the other side of it is I also work for a behavioral health and addiction medicine practice, and I go in and do their H&Ps. So I mean, I'm basically doing their history and physicals, but I mean, I'm at the forefront of addiction, and a lot of these people, I believe, this product would be phenomenal for them. So
Okay, so every topic you just talked about,
Mm.
anxiety, earache, autoimmune, Lyme's or tick bite, we say, addiction, there is an amazing history and story about these products and each of those and pretty much every other. So when you begin to get a hold of this, and you've witnessed some of it now, when you take it, the benefits begin immediately. The very next time you pee, you're peeing poison. And how
yeah,
you experience that is interesting, but they continue indefinitely as long as you keep doing it. It's more like brushing your teeth than anything else. It's more like hygiene. It's like taking a shower on the inside. But but from your standpoint, as a person who's craving knowledge on the practical side, immediately every single metabolic process starts running cleaner because they all have biologically active metals. Everyone has a toxic metal with a higher charge, smaller size, greater weight that kicks the right one out of the way. Now it doesn't work. Couple of quick examples. In the Krebs cycle, making power. Okay. The ultimate product, adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate isn't power unless it's breaking and remaking, breaking and remaking. And in order for that to happen, there needs to be a magnesium hovering near that last bond. It's called activated ATP or magnesium ATP. That magnesium, one molecule at a time, is displaced by mercury. And it's like you have a trillion cylinder engine, but somebody's going around pulling plug wires off of them. And each time you use a little bit, next thing you know, you're not quite like you were and you don't know why. And then you start using the product and the power starts coming back. You say, oh, I'm a little brighter than I was. So that's that one. Let's go to the immune system.
the other one is I did have somebody that was having an autoimmune hepatitis. And so, it's attacking your liver. She's having a big problem. I said, maybe you want to try this product. Maybe you want to try this. So she tried our product. And guess what? She came back because I also was working at a Medi Spa that was doing holistic type care. She came back 3 months later and was like, I went to the doctor. I don't have the autoimmune hepatitis. I was like,
So
okay. I said,
here's my biggest problem so far. We have to earn your time.
Mm.
Everybody else has got it. I think we deserve it.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I mean,
Oh, thank you.
it's so much simpler and so much more powerful. You know, you don't, it's because the answers, it's like solving a math equation. You know, you simplify, move all the problems to one side and the answer on the other. And that's essentially what we've got. It's easy like that. And so most people don't have the background that you do, and yet they're extremely effective with these products because it's here, have a go at this, see what happens.
Yeah.
And it works just as good as whether you understand it or not. If the people use it, they get, it's like you stepped into a stream of miracles and they're not going to quit happening just because it's Hannah that's offering them. You know, Hannah's really been reaching out a lot lately, and you know, Alan is a railroad dispatcher. I was a railroad dispatcher at one time when I was a kid. Me and mom and dad all worked on the railroad, UP, and it works fine when he offers it. And you know, so each one of us like that. But I want to take some of the specific things that you brought up because, unfortunately, my affliction is I'm fascinated with that side of it. You don't got to know that, but I suspect, and I probably ought to ask you straight out: do you like the biochem stuff? Do you like how come?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So you
my,
guys just ignore us for a little bit.
I know they're probably like, well, if my son was walking by, he would be like, "What are you doing, nerd?" That's
Exactly.
what he says to me. He's like, "You're reading a book again?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm looking up this route."
So even faster than reading a book is when you run into the people that have been living it, you know, immersed in it. And so we know what it'll do. And the question I usually get is, okay, this just happened. Why? You know, when I walked downstairs, it was a little kid. Well, not a little kid anymore, 11 years old, started saying the ABCs and singing the ABCs for the first time.
That's incredible.
Refuses to eat anything still except Lay's potato chips and water. 47-pound girl.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm expecting that will be one of the things that changes. But let's go to the autoimmune thing. Two ways we can play in that realm. Number one, lining of the gut. This is huge.
Yeah.
Avini could be called the gut lining company. Single cell thick, every villi and microvilli coated with a single cell thick lining. Between those cells, all the decisions are made about what gets out and what goes on and gets digested further, called the close junctions. If something gets out and it's not quite nutrients yet, it's still in 2s or 3s or 4s, you know, as far as what it's made of. Guess what's waiting on the other side of that single cell? On the outside of the tube that we are, outside of our digestive tract, 70% of your immune system is there spoiling for a fight for something that you ate that gets out. And all of a sudden it starts fighting with your food. Now you become hyperallergenic to things and you become autoimmune. And we try to name autoimmune dysfunctions lupus because they get a rash on their face that looks like a wolf. You know, that's why lupus is called lupus, or, you know, all the different ones. RA, when the joints start breaking down, all this kind of thing. But guess what? I think they all go back to the same cause. And the reason I say that is it isn't too long until one starts looking like the other and say, well, I don't know which one you've got. Maybe you've got both of them. Now, maybe you've got all three of them.
That's what I was going to say. Typically you have one and then it's like an evolution of now you have one here and now you have this and now you have RA and now you have, yeah.
So that makes it more complicated. Here in Avini, we run that the other direction. We move all that to one side of the equation and the answer to the other side. And guess what? The answer is left on this side, which is Avini.
Yeah.
You go to the bottom line, solve it, and everything starts going right at once. You don't know what's going to go right next. Instead of wondering what's going to go wrong next, you start wondering what's going to go right next. Instead of being in a downward spiral, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to put up with that now the rest of my life. It's going to be another doctor, another diagnosis, another prescription, another pharmacist, another medical device, you know, that I have to do, you know, the entire rest of my life. Instead, oh, maybe I'm going to have one less. Well, that's more convenient. That's easier. That's less expensive. You know, I can go back to work. I can start taking care of my family again. I'm starting to create income. So another piece of the autoimmune thing, and this is really, really important. Most people just who are looking for natural causes at all or natural help at all, if they get a cold, they'll take zinc. Pretty common, right? Most everybody has some zinc in their cupboard, right? Usually have silver too. Well, there's been enormous breakthroughs. And oftentimes people think they know something about zeolite. They think they know something about Avini. You felt like you knew something about zeolite. Probably nothing like you're getting tonight. I mean, you probably feel like, okay, I just got the fire hose treatment here, but I know you can learn as fast as I can teach you. And the other people around me, they've been around me long enough. They've heard me say this stuff before, but you're getting it all in 10 minutes because I don't want you to ever leave. But if you do, I want you to know everything before you leave.
Oh, thank you.
So why the zinc? Because zinc is involved in reading DNA when you make a new cell, and you're needing to make new immune cells. The place that zinc works is the center of a zinc finger protein. Zinc is kicked out of there in competition for the same space by arsenic. And arsenic finger protein is dyslexic. It can't read DNA strands. And you start looking at arsenic poisoning and all the things that go wrong. It's not just immune cells that are failing to be made correctly. It's every cell that starts failing to be made correctly. The most important point that I can give you, because I'm wanting you to value gigantically what you're hearing tonight, you can never swallow enough zinc to kick even one arsenic out of the center of an arsenic finger protein.
Wow.
You have to pick it up and carry it out, attract, trap, transport, and gently facilitate the excretion through the kidneys. Easier for the kidneys, easier for the liver, easier for you, not more difficult. You get that out. Now, the zinc that's already in your diet or the supplement you take can get where you needed it to go.
It's pretty
now
amazing.
You get the benefit. So all the right things you were doing. And this was the first thing I saw. I mean, I was maybe fortunate because over 19 years ago now, I came across Rik and what he was doing with the Avini Cell Defender. It was, zeolite product at the time. And I saw it and I thought, oh my gosh, this may be literally the first thought was, oh my gosh, this might be the most important thing I've ever come across, because all the building blocks of good health that I've studied and tried to use my whole life, they're going to suddenly start working like they should have all along, because this guy is removing the stumbling blocks that kept them from fitting together right. And
yeah, because your body will substitute stuff for the stuff that it needs. That's incredible. That's when I say Aunt Christine, but when Christine did say to me, I said, Christine, if I hadn't seen it work myself and personally took it, I would say that you're making it up. But I have seen it work just so well that I literally.
Right, I'm going to start calling her Aunt Christine. She's been grumpy about that a little bit, but I've been Sister Christine. But then everybody thinks, well, Sister Christine, that could be confused too. So
that could be her nun-like status.
Exactly. And I was raised that way. I still got you look at my knuckles.
I was going to say, she did go. Didn't you go to Catholic school?
Yes, yeah. I got hit with a ruler too.
Like I say, it's as though we were raised in the same family. It feels like it all the time to me. Pretty cool stuff.
So that means Nicole's your great niece. Nicole's your great niece, Chip.
There we go. Cool. I warmly, I'm proud of that.
Well, I want to go here for a minute. I want to go here. This is, I approached her, Nicole, because I knew how smart she was and I knew she was in the medical field. And I was brandy new. I knew nothing about the zeolite, nothing. The only thing I trusted Kyle Helms and Eddie Kowalski, that they told me that Eddie's personal story would happen for him. And then, so that's how this works, right? This is exactly how it works. Even though each week we come here and we learn about ATP and all of the different, pieces of our bodies, and, we're all on this journey together in our own part, but this is exactly a good example of how it works, one telling another and you telling. And the beautiful thing about this is my brother, Nicole's dad, had some major health issues. And I took away lots of the foods he was eating, like Wonder Bread and things like that. We removed, it cleaned up his diet.
Entenmann's.
Entenmann's cakes, yes. And long story short, got him started on, right, the Cell Defender and the fiber. And God help him, he was able to do the Grand Canyon at a slow pace with us, but we did it. And he made it. And he might not have made it. You know, I really believe that. And Nicole now has her mom, Patty Ann, also taking the Cell Defender. And she loves it, Nicole. She's telling everybody. So all that to say, Chip, it's just one person telling another. Yes.
And the
Well,
one thing that I will say is you have to be, I mean, I've done like direct sales and things like that. You have to not take it personal and present people with the opportunity and what we have to offer. And then they're going to take it or leave it. I mean, and you gentle little things talking about it. Cause like Christine had said, my dad was like, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that. And then slowly, as we kind of like talked to him or he heard us talking, he'd be like, well, what? And then, you know, people want to hear the information.
so
So,
I got to play with you a little bit too, because all this is great. You've been on every aspect of the practical side of medicine. Have you been on the research side ever?
well, when I was going through clinicals and stuff, I worked at like HIV clinical trials. Does that count?
Yeah. So you kind of got the picture there. And this is a little trick that I do mentally. If someone doesn't do it right now, I move them over into the control group. They're the ones that aren't getting it. I'm watching the ones who are getting the real remedy and the ones who are not getting the real remedy. And I'm watching the disparity and the divergence open up. Well, now, I'm doing the very best I can to feel like I'm about your same age.
You are.
Thank you. Thank you. And, you know, what happens is as the time opens up, by the time you get to be my age, sometime between a third and a half of us are dead. And the
Absolutely.
disparity, health and functionality wise, and you get your face rubbed in that all day, every day. A nurse winds up, you know, you become a body fluids expert.
Pretty much. And
I mean,
you walk out of there like, oh my gosh. And you think just a little bit of prevention would have stopped all of this from happening. And that's where I like to come in. And a lot of things, see, I kind of see it from the medical perspective and the other side, that as a nurse practitioner, our role is to look at the whole perspective. So if you're like, you need to sometimes get rid of things and not take things away to make your life better, but add something. So I kind of look at it at that whole perspective. I mean, 5-10 years ago, when I was working in urgent care and the nurse practitioners started coming in, everyone was like, I don't want to see a nurse practitioner for the first week. And then the rest of the week, like the next week, everyone was like, where's the nurse practitioner? Where's the nurse practitioner? I was like, you're seeing a doctor today.
Now they're the respected ones. They're the sensible doc and the personal doc, the doc that has more than 5 minutes or more than 2 minutes to talk to you.
Yeah. And
nurse practitioners are doing a lot of what the docs used to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really high-powered nurse. Yeah. And obviously, like you begin to open up your own thing.
Yeah. So we just want to keep encouraging, and like the more people that we can touch, the better.
So the power of networking, I have to ask straight out, have you ever felt it? Have you ever made income doing something like this? Are you yet making money? You have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Now I'm such a happy boy. My work
He has
here
a team, believe it or not. Chip,
so you know what you're up to. You know what you've got. Oh my gosh.
And that's why that's the other reason why I had to do it this way. And I had to go through and get the medical perspective and the nursing perspective so that I could know like the inner working. If you can take care of the sickest person, you can take care of the other person. And if you know X, Y, and Z, like a lot of times people will, like even in urgent care, they'd be like, oh, well, I'm going to go to the primary before. No, you're not going there. You're going to go here and save yourself this step. I orchestrate that type of stuff.
So Rik plays both sides as well. he actually has, still, he makes things that will become drugs, but we oftentimes have them in our hands already. What will become his MS drug, his intervention for Lou Gehrig's, we have the basics of that in our Plus Relief product already.
That's impressive.
We have that already. We have it, and so that's pretty cool. In my case, I was a compounding pharmacy tech, so I was behind the walls making the stuff. So so I kind of know both sides, and
you do,
and it helps.
Yeah,
it really does help perspective wise, and for everybody else that's on the call, I mean, this is kind of typical conversation for me during the day, only maybe heightened quite a bit because of some of the interpersonal situations here. But what you need to know is that somebody knows. You don't have to know all this. You need to know that Rik knows it, and that I always say it comes from smart and it attracts smart, but it also attracts practical, wise, heartfelt, caring, and any of those attributes.
I was going to say open-minded.
Open-minded, bold, and one of those adjectives had to hit you right between the eyes, whoever you are on this call, I know. And so I don't want you to think for any reason, any less of what you know. I want you to feel like what you know is just fine. And if you represent it by the laws of God, the laws of man, the laws of nature, I always say this better be true. If it's not, don't call me back because I lied to you. And so you're kind of getting a test of that here. If Nicole thinks it's good, Christine thinks it's good, Alan thinks it's good, Hannah thinks it's good, Dave and Pat thinks it's good, and Carol does too, and I see Priscilla has joined us, and Pat and Ray, and Shu and Debbie, and Melanie and Diane, all you guys, if it is compatible with our way of thinking, probably going to be compatible with yours too, because we're rather diverse, and yet on this we're in total agreement.
Alan has his hand up.
Hey,
Alan,
Al.
you have a question?
See, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay, good. Thank you. This is for Nicole. Nicole, because you're a nurse practitioner, hard for me to get my tongue wrapped around that. But anyway, somebody in the company came up with these two words that will certainly fit within your scope of what you're doing there. Prioritize prevention. That's all I have to say about that.
I like that. I like that a lot. Because
Very
even
cool.
just a little there's a book that was out a couple of years ago called Upstream. Like, you're thinking of what the thing is upstream that's causing the trickle down.
Exactly.
Or I've also heard of first order thinking, like a lot of people that are in this group are not just thinking of the first thing. We're thinking of X, Y, and Z and what we can do to augment these different things instead of just saying here. And the other thing I will say,
over the falls, and somebody ought to say, "Gee, I wonder why they're falling in the river."
Mm-hmm. Hannah, go ahead. How did I see your hand?
Nicole, you mentioned something which I know Shu and I have been kind of walking into those spheres, is mental health. That mental health is a huge part of what this is, but they're not recognizing it the way that they should. That it's I call it battleshipping, taking it from the battleship all the way down to the image of creating it. And it's like they're thinking of mental and all the different things, but they're not thinking of what they're putting in the body and down, that it's the heavy metals and the toxicity. So would love to see on another call that we battleship this.
yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a huge thing, and it's aha moments. That's what we're all getting, is the aha moments. But how do we share this with everyone for them to understand as well?
Definitely.
You bring him to this call.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the same thing. One person at a time, right?
Yeah.
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 But also to have the recordings.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
The recordings are amazing.
Yeah.
And collectively, as we build the library, you know, I showed somebody today, I had a call with somebody today to help me with the website. And we had this long story talk about the website, you know, how the website and silos work in business and all of that stuff. And then he just came right out and said it. He says, "Oh, wow." He says, "You know what? I need to lose weight. Do you think these products will help me with that?" And he's like, "Can we talk tomorrow about just that?" I said, "Absolutely. 9 o'clock. We'll be on it." You know, because he heard it, and when I was telling him about what we do, but I showed him our Avini Health training. He said, "I've never seen anything so organized and so like this is amazing resource." So
And comprehensive.
Rich Cotter, God bless him, and all the team that puts that together, right, Chip?
Yeah.
Rich is amazing. He's a compulsive organizer. God bless Rich Cotter.
God bless him.
All right, we got a couple of minutes left. Any comments, concerns, or closing? Nicole, do you have anything you want to share with us before we let you go? And thank you for
just thank you for having me. And any questions, Christine has my info. You can always get in touch with me. And I would love to come back at any point.
You want to come back every week?
4 kids, 6 dogs, 3 cats.
Can I ask your question, please?
We
Sure,
need to
Tanya,
earn
go
your
ahead.
time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I believe that what happens when you reach out to people will merit. You know, you have a lot of skills. Each of us on here does, but we need to merit your work life. This needs to be more important, more valuable, more efficient, more economically expansive than anything you've ever done.
Oh.
And I believe it is.
Amen. Tanya has a question, I believe. Tanya?
Yes.
We can't see, but
you got to raise my hand. But Skip, can you explain? I know that I can't. Is it Nicole?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You said that zeolite you didn't cross the blood-brain barrier. So I would like Chip to explain to us. We have people with bad cells in their head, and we see many changes. And
I got it, Donna.
Thank you,
I got
Chip.
it. Yep. So that is a common question, and people will say, "Does the zeolite cross the blood-brain barrier?" And I'll tell you a lot about that. Number one, we know that the benefits cross. We know that at MD Anderson, a surgeon had a guy's skull off and was trying to remove a glioblastoma that had grown like spider webs down into the little indentations in the brain, thinking that he was going to debulk it just to give him a little bit of room to take the pressure off, and that it would probably go back. Got a hold of the corner of it, started tugging on it, and it looked like the tumor was in trouble, but the brain wasn't. Looked like it might have been dead. The thing comes off, roots and all.
Wow.
Goes back to the family and said, "Can you tell me what I just saw?" And they said, "Well, what do you mean? What did I just see?" So I think I got it all. Well, what do you want to hear? Especially when they're just going to go in debulking like that. The surgeon comes back and says, "I think I got it all. I think it came out roots and all." And so that then led to them arranging. And it's funny how these things rise and then get slapped back by the standard of care. The MD Anderson administrators, the surgeon, and the people around him all called Rik one day. And he thought he was going to have to do like I just did with you. Well, I actually didn't do it with you because I didn't cover that topic, but someday. And he said, the first question they asked me was, "How do we get this?"
Wow.
That was question number one.
And number two is, we are not giving it to you. You may use it and use it properly, but not giving the patent to them.
Yeah, exactly. And it isn't patented.
Okay.
It isn't patented, and that's really important. If it had been patented when he came up with it, it would have run out this year.
Ooh.
He has held it proprietary. It is complex enough and tricky enough and artful enough that even knowing the basic concept, nobody has been able to duplicate it. Or even the people he has taught to do it
can't do it.
When they tried to steal it, they started their urge was to cut corners. and to shorten it up to, it takes 30 some steps in 3.5 or 4 days to make a batch of this stuff. They want to do it in 3 steps in 30 minutes and charge the same and claim that it's the same thing. So you get brand X and it's not even close. Has been tested in court, and it is protectable intellectual property. That is the way that this is made. And in each of our products, different ways, each of our main active ingredients is protected and unique to us.
That's really good news that it doesn't
Not
have
all that same way. In like in the Plus Relief, we've bought up all the patents.
right.
Phil
Yeah.
has a question. Phil has his hand up.
Actually, it's not a question, it's more of a comment. I'm not often on this call, but I watch it all the time on recording. And I'm glad to be here today to catch the end of this. And as always, I enjoy Chip's wonderful expressions. And one of the things that I picked up on recently is this is not just about saving people from illness, and of course, that's often what's motivating us. But it's also the concept of being a better vision of yourself, and I've taken that in the last 2 years ahead to building my health and my physical stamina, etc., and being a better version of myself by getting off the couch and running. And I recently, did the Vancouver Sun Run. And right now, after Rik introduced the new cardio care, I noticed about a 25% boost in what I'm doing since that run. And I'm continuing to train. And at age 81 next year, I plan to be on the podium, if not the winner of my age category, 80 to 84, having run competitively for the first time this past April. And
Wow.
it's all made possible by Cell Defender, the fiber. I'm taking it all. And
so I'm watching Priscilla's face as you're speaking, because I think Priscilla is his sponsor, if I remember correctly. And so
she's
there's nothing quite like seeing your person blooming, right?
Yeah, exactly. And today I had been running out about 10 days ago, and I passed this fellow who was kind of trucking along this little track that I run on. And and I just pass him and I'd wave, as I'm going by. And then, I run to the, my timer, tell me, okay, it's time to, you've done your thing for the day. And I approached him, and we just ended up having a long conversation as I continued to walk with him, and walked him back to his apartment. He's only 2 blocks from where I live. And now we just had another session, and this guy, we just sort of like that, just instantly. And he's all interested in learning about his health. He doesn't have the knees and whatnot to do what I'm doing, but he's a dedicated walker, and he's got a little bit of high blood pressure and takes a bit of medication, but he'd like to get off of that. And
we just flipped over to the high performance side of Avini. And the cool thing is, what Phil does is largely the same as some of the people that are god awful sick. Do the same thing, whether you're looking for even, ultimate performance like Phil, or if you're in big trouble. Your first event is getting well if you're sick. Yeah. Right. In Phil's case, he's way beyond that, and Vancouver is, it's pretty cool. And I did see you were up there, and I hadn't seen you here very often, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Glad to be here.
Well, wonderful to have you. Thank you for speaking up.
Yeah, well, I thought I better say something here quick before you guys pack it in.
I think we need a conversation with Nicole's dad and Phil. Nicole, arrange that, please.
Yeah, and if anybody needs a little coaching on this, you get somebody, I'm happy to do a 3-way call with someone who's a little more ambitious than just getting well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we're just about out of time, but I want to thank you, Nicole, for being with us tonight from Northern New Jersey, and everyone. Thank you for your input, for sharing. Chip, as always, Carol. We'll look forward to seeing you if you're going to Virginia. Anybody going to Virginia coming up in a couple of weeks? Going to the regional, and then of course Boca Raton in November. So God bless each and every one of you. We'll see you next week on Avini Vibes, and remember, just keep going out and sharing. Let's give hope together, okay? Good night,
Thank
all.
you so much. This is such a special group. I'm so grateful for you guys. Thank you for being interested. Thank you so much.
Guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me. I'll see you all soon.
Come again. Bye.
Good night. Great call. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye, Pat.
It's been real.